All right, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to the e-discussion session powered by MySaffairs Media. Uh, no one would have imagined that we shall be meeting over such kind of digital platforms like video conferencing, which we all are doing right now. But this is the reality. So getting used to technology, and so is today's session, digital for exhibition business. So let me introduce today's panelist. Really honored to have the industry leaders with us from different domains. Starting with Mr. Dennis Delforge, CEO Brussels Expo. Welcome, Dennis. Next is Mr. John Blaski, MD, the Exhibiting Agency UK. Mr. Balwinder Singh Sani, Assistant Secretary General, FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Welcome, Balwinder ji. Mr. MQ Sayed,
Thanks.
Managing Director, Massive Global India and EXHICON Group. Welcome, Mr. Sayed. Mr. Sudeep Sarkar, CEO, India Expo Center and Mart. Mr. Amit Panjwani, Director, CII. Mr. Naveen Seth, Principal Director, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Mr. Babar Khan, Exhibition Industry Professional. And Mr. Ashish Jain, Joint Deputy Director General for FIEO. So welcome all the panelists and taking out your time for this session today. So without wasting much time, I would straight jump onto the topic. The first one, as we all have heard recently that some of the shows have announced going digital in some time. So going digital, is this what the future holds for the exhibition industry as well? So pointing first question straight to Mr. Balwinder Singh Sani. Over to you, sir, for your take on the same.
Uh, Hi, good afternoon to all my panelists, and special thanks to John and Dennis for joining us from overseas. It's really a pleasure because we'll get your perspective from UK and from Brussels. So, and good to see Mr. Bedi, a lot of known faces, industry faces, all friends, Sudeep, Amit, Mr. Jain, Mr. Khan. We're really happy to see you all. I have, been repeating, I'll have to repeat few things. I've already said we'll have to reboot, redesign, reinvent. So that continues. And see, initially things will go digital. And as I have said in the past, the conventional form of doing or physical form of doing exhibitions will continue, but new normal will be again with social distancing and the way we have talked about, minimizing people, giving them slots as we talk to Sudeep regarding creating SOPs. So I'm quite optimistic because every, dip any situation which takes mankind to a negative situation brings back them to a different levels, and youth of India and the youth of entire world will come forward with new ideas, innovative ideas, and we will thrive. And there will be new ways of working, but exhibition industry will definitely be epicenter of doing any show or showcasing your capabilities in physical space, digital space, manufacturing space, services space. This will definitely be the one of the things which will survive, because in the traditional format also we have seen post World War II, and we have, if you have read history, mankind has gone through various ups and downs, but we have come back very strongly and we have multiplied in various numbers. So I am quite hopeful and positive, and I would like you all to create this positivity and keep reminding everyone in your professional world, in your personal lives, that we will all bounce back and we will rock the world. And exhibition industry will be in front, for SMEs, for large scale manufacturers, for services sectors, for manufacturing sectors. So I'm quite hopeful. With these words, I would like to say thanks to all of you. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take it. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Balwinder ji, for really motivating words to start the session, I would say. Now, moving on to Dennis from Brussels Expo. Dennis, what is your take on going digital for exhibitions? Over to you.
So, Hello to everybody. I think in Brussels and in Europe, there are a lot of initiatives before COVID about developing a tool to just being complementary to the physical show. So we were all working on how can we add some added value to the physical show by developing a digital platform. And we were busy with a lot of solution before the COVID. Of course, because of the COVID and all the show cancellation, now we are all trying, to find a perfect solution for our industry on a digital platform and on a total remote events, and not on a digital platform combined with the physical events. We do a lot of studies in Brussels Expo and development right now with big technological partner to find a perfect solution. Personally, I'm quite frustrated when I see what are the solutions on the market, because if you analyze them, they are very good solution, but more for the conference business, like we are doing today, or webinars, seminars, and stuff like this, but not really for the exhibition business, which is really, really specific. And because it's difficult to replace a face-to-face relationship, and all the business is all about face-to-face contact, nobody dares to develop a platform that could replace that. And personally, I think that we won't be able to replace that. But we are trying to develop digital platform right now in Europe to help, and to digitalize what can be digitalized. For example, because of all the restriction now on the human contacts with the COVID, we are focusing now in Brussels on the one features being, trying to help the connection, the matchmaking between peoples. And for example, one of the measures we'll discuss in the venue business is it will be the only meetings that will be allowed on the booth will be the one who are already agreed on. And when you have already a meeting plan in your agenda, you can go on the booth and have a meeting. If you don't, you won't be able to meet the exhibitor. So we are really focusing now in solution in Europe, at least, and in Brussels Expo, to try to find digital solutions that are really specifically developed for industry, the trade shows industry, because my personal analysis of that, and I will finish on that point, is that what I miss when I see all the platform existing for business, the digital platform, is that they are all very passive, it's very static. It's like browsing a catalogs of exhibitors on the web, but you don't have anything that's it's the role of the organizer, animating the communities of visitors and exhibitors. And so now we are developing a solution. We hope that in 3 months' time we'll be online, that will be available for all the organizers. It's a solution that will really totally change the way you connect the exhibitors and the visitors online. But I repeat, it won't replace the physical show. It will come to complete, to do what we can. So far we can with the cancellation, and after the cancellation, after COVID, when the industry is back on track, I think these tools that will help the experience of visitors and exhibitors connecting to each other will be still used in combination with the physical show.
Sure. Thank you, Dennis, for your inputs. Now taking another expert views, inviting Mr. John Blasky from UK for his inputs on going digital. Over to you, John. Let me unmute you.
I was listening very carefully to what Dennis said. After all, he's at the coal face, and I'm not. I'm taking a bigger view, and I'm taking the human view that we will never lose the desire, the need to communicate as people. What the industry may develop is a hybrid where you have content, which is, after all, what brings a lot of people to physical trade shows, as well as the experiential, which is everybody's products or services on display. But a lot of other things take place invisibly: signals, emotions, learning, speaking, all this. And as organizers, we need to say to exhibitors, I'm sorry, I'm not an organizer, but the industry needs to say to exhibitors, this is why you need to come and physically present yourself, because it's from time immemorial, the bazaar, the forum, the agora, these were the places where philosophers and poets and traders got together. And we mustn't forget that. It will always come back. I've seen over 45 years that we've been through recession, 9/11, we've been through all sorts of things. There will never be no exhibitions. I think one thing that we may need to discuss is the new format that's being tried in America, where an exhibition and a conference, when they take place together, take place separately. The learning is confined to a certain number of hours, and then the exhibition floor is open for a number of hours, and then the learning continues. It's a different spin on mixing content and experiential. But my view is that digital will only support and help and promote the live event. After all, that's what happens in the music industry.
Sure. Thank you, John. Good points, which are being shared with everyone. Yeah, and really appreciate that. Moving on to Mr. MQ Sayed. Mr. Sayed, I think you are attending a lot of webinars, so it's a request to share the crux of these webinars in terms of our question one. Over to you.
Thank you. I actually agree with both the panelists on the point that face-to-face is not going to die. It is really going to only grow. Yes, there could be a lot of, sort of disruption for next maybe 2 months, 3 months for that matter. And there'll be a lot of growing new technological tool to actually start adopting to the exhibitions. But ultimately, this will be a face-to-face. Yes, but technology for the exhibition industry is now key. Like Brussels is also one of them who has already started using this. So a lot of concern about the health, safety, hygiene, the distancing and knowing the product well and getting into the right way of exhibitions will be immediately important. But as far as the exhibition industry as a whole is concerned, world over, look at today's Hunan Expo, which is inaugurated, the largest auto expo of China. If the China can start, organizing show from today, the rest of the world in that case scenario. So I really don't see the digital really taking over the exhibition space of the world. Rather, it could be some sort of, complementing each other, but future is only for face-to-face marketing. And as rightly mentioned by both the panelists, that unless you touch, feel, discuss, there's no dealing going to be closed. So the exhibition is the only way forward, is what I believe.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sayed. Very well said. Face-to-face is never gonna die. Now moving on to Mr. Sudeep Sarkarji. Mr. Sudeep, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, over to you. So for the digital exhibitions, what the future holds. Over to you.
See, we are a venue and a organizer, same as Sayed ji also, and I've been hearing these views. So yes, there is definitely that a disruption has happened, and disruptions are for good and for re-preparing yourself to face the future. So what I see is that it may not be a complete digital mode, but it will be definitely a hybrid model for some time to go on. Why? Because some of the exhibitors and visitors may not like to travel immediately because of the travel embargoes given by the different countries. This is a practical situation. And two, they would first like to consolidate what they have lost in this last 1 month, the business and the supply chain, etc., etc. So by the time they recoup with the first international travel, and the second the fear of mingling, and the third is the business loss that they have faced in this last 30 to 45 days, depending upon the different parts of the world, they would need a sustainable model for the time being to showcase their products and keep their logistics and their supply chain alive. Otherwise, what will happen, I'm giving you the negative part of it, is that some shows which are very deep pocketed and are unique and are very large, like the World Mobile Congress and all, they have announced their postponement, I think from as early as mid-March. You know what, they can sustain. They can sustain. Mobile manufacturers might be able to sustain the larger ones. But given the economy in India, which is the exhibition is driven mostly by MSME, who have painstakingly developed their supply chain and their logistics for over quite a long time, they may not be able to sustain. So it is our responsibility to offer a hybrid model to the Indian MSME, and in such situations, many other countries where the MSME plays a major role, to give them a platform so that they can showcase their products and keep their business alive while restructuring or relooking at their home. So this would be an essential part. But yes, as I said, everyone is agreeing on to that point that it is not a only way. It is a hybrid way. It is therefore going to stay for some time. But if we don't do that for this time being, and we are thinking that yes, the exhibitions will come back as it is happening in Hunan, then large players might stay back. I have heard many other, specific product-specific webinars where I have heard that many companies have shifted to manufacturing of plastics, masks, and ventilators, etc. They have deep pocketed. They can sustain. But what do you think about the Indian MSME? For that matter, the Asian other countries MSME like Vietnam and all, you need to give them some kind of a window where they can, still compete and make their supply chain alive. If they do not do that, their supply chain will be taken over by other competitors. So when they come back effectively back to the business after a year or two, they will have another hard-hitting phase on their face that they do not have that supply chain alive for them anymore. So this is a practical situation. We have to, adapt as per the environmental, propositions to us. If a disruption has happened, yes, for the timing, we are adopting this model. It's definitely gonna stay there for 2 years, full-fledged, and it will be a hybrid model in many cases. And it is definitely making our MSME stay back in the business, which is very important for the countries like India and similar worldwide. That's what I have to say.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. So hybrid model, as you said. Yeah. Thanks for these suggestions. Now, I would like to take some quick bites from our friends or leaders from various confederation and associations. So starting with Amit from CI first.
Good evening, Sachin. Good evening, everybody. Sachin, I also believe, like others, that we have to be in the same situation. Present exhibition model is much more better than digital one. We do not have permanent alternative to the normal exhibition right now. And this digital form of exhibition is temporary, which will stay for time being till the time we have uncertainty in the market. But if you look at other side of the coin, globally, all sectors, especially service sectors, have accepted and adopted the digital model. So considering same, and looking at the thing we are learning nowadays, the way you have started with that, we never thought that we're going to have conference like this, sitting in our own houses, enjoying, talking, and again on the same conference level, and you got 70, 80 people sitting and watching us. It's a different world, and we are learning and we are adopting it. So this current situation is there, we might have to partially move to digital mode. That's what my take is. But to go to that, I feel that we have to get ourselves to that level first. We need a very strong digital infrastructure, which can connect international buyers to the exhibitors. As I feel that the coming years is not going to be smooth for traveling. So we need to connect international buyers to the Indian exhibitors through the digital mode for time being. As Sudhir just said, that 2 years is going to be crucial. I wanted to believe my friend Balwinder opening remarks, very encouraging, very optimistic, and it actually boosts me up. But situation is a bit different too. We have to accept that as an exhibition organizer, need to adopt a digital form of pattern by which we can interact with exhibitors. So it's not the same model which you adopt on. If in case we are looking at exhibition for next 1 year, so we have to get to the habit of getting interaction with the model, digital model through exhibitors. That's what I feel. We also want a very dynamic platform to have the virtual exhibition. We, as of now, we have a very digital one. So to get to that model, and I still believe that the physical model is better. But even to get to 50% of that, we need a very dynamic model, which can have a more interactive one. So for that, we look at venue authorities provide us seamless connectivity, a dynamic digital platform, so that we can get them, we can get exhibitors there. There'll be restriction on visitors, sure for sure. So what we can do, we can look at partial, we can look at domestic visitors for time being, and we can look at the international through digital. This is what I feel.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Thank you for your inputs. Moving on to next panelist in row, Mr. Naveen Seth from PhD Chamber of Commerce. Over to you, Mr. Seth.
Yeah, good evening to all, and really nice to see all of you. We have been in the industry for years, and very rarely we get together like this. So thanks, Sachin, for making this happen, and Syed, Balwinder, Sudeep. We have been interacting in other platforms also. So as most of my co-panelists have already shared what I wanted to say. But yes, digital it will be a short-term thing for sure. Maybe 1 year or 2 years, and then traditional exhibitions will happen. And as Amit has very rightly pointed out, that we have to see like some domestic exhibitions if we can start maybe by end of this year, and have international people on digital platform. I think Amit or Balwinder and Ashish will agree with me that already in the Commerce Ministry, this virtual exhibition part is already being discussed. So I think Sudeep also would be aware, because EPCH is also working very closely on that part. So that is also being discussed. So that is an alternate for sure for the time being. And yes, in coming years, that can be a hybrid model, as Sudeep has already pointed out. But traditional exhibitions, the flavor which we have been seeing for years, will definitely come back, and that is the way to take it further. Because exhibitions also helps in a lot of other things also along with this. So my take is that this is a short-term thing, digital, and later on we'll come back to our normal traditional exhibition. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Seth. Now moving on to Mr. Ashish Jain from FIEO. So as FIEO has been participating in a lot of shows in terms of India Pavilion. So what do you think, Mr. Jain, how things are going to change?
Yeah, thank you, Sachin. Thank you, everyone. I would just like to add on to what my co-panelist has said. See, exhibition is considered as one of the marketing tool for the participant as well as for the suppliers. As everybody has rightly said, see, the current norm is digital. Obviously, people are looking for some kind of a marketing tool through which they can display their products and services. As of now, as the physical form of the exhibitions are not happening because of the restrictions and because of the disruptions, from my perspective, yes, digital exhibitions are going to be norm for some time. And at the same time, I would like to add on to the fact that, it is going to, the exhibition industry is going to evolve on its own because of these disruptions. We need to understand, we need to go for the, hybrid model, as everybody has said, to understand and go parallelly. See, physical form anyhow will be there, because there are certain product sectors and product groups cannot go online and have that kind of an interaction. Everybody wants to have a touch of the products, and that is how the exhibition happens. That is what the basic purpose of the exhibition is there, to bring two people together to showcase and to understand and to interact with it. It is more of a relationship between a supplier as well as, the buyer. So adding on to this fact, I would like to say there are certain opportunities also in terms of the current scenario, which has led us to go for digital form. It is a learning mode for all of us to think for the other parallel models through which we can connect to each other. Yes, digital is going to be there in the time to come when the things gets back to normal. Physical form of exhibition will continue along with what I understand is the organizer are going to think from both the perspective, go for digital format also simultaneously. Additional advantage of this understanding at this point of time is that it is going to have more reach, both from the buyer's perspective as well as from the supplier's perspective. See, physical form, there are limited accessibility in terms of participation, but this time, in fact, this situation has also led us to learn and to understand how we can connect to more people when in addition to the physical form of the exhibition. So yes, from my perspective, from the federation perspective, digital is the present, I would say, the key norm or key word, and it has to be followed. And what I would say, it is also going to evolve the technological perspective also. See, this has been, physical form has been there for quite a long time, and it is through this model only we have been working. We have never thought of going for virtual kind of a thing. So this situation has also led us to go for the technologies which can supplement our ideas of going for virtual along with the physical form. This is what I would have to add. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Jain. So taking the last bite from Mr. Babar Khan. Babar, over to you.
Thank you, Sachin. Good evening, everyone. So my take on this is, for the time being, the situation is not normal. It all depends on the environment what we are in. So accordingly, for now, the digital trade platform will be more important, and the future lies in the hybrid platform. See, I'll take an example of Canton Fair. See, Canton Fair has gone digital this time, which is one of the largest exhibition in the world. Apart, the exhibition is export-based exhibition. So they need to have a lot of international visitors. So as of now, with this current situation, they could not have so much of international visitors. So because of that, they have moved to a digital platform. So because of these scenario with the restrictions and travels, most of the airlines, they're not into operations. Yesterday, I have got a news that British Airways is planning some restriction or a 14 days quarantine for anybody who is landing to any of the British port. So these will be the new norms, and it will definitely hamper the sentiments. It will hamper the sentiments of the visitors or the consumers. So for now, the digital would be important. This is the way we have to carry on the business on a digital platform. For future, yes, of course, the hybrid model. Because digital is something which is not very much explored. I would say it's a sleeping beauty of the exhibition industry. It brings the synergy between the visitors, exhibition organizers, and the other stakeholders. So it's very important that we should evaluate, or we should understand the importance of digital platform for the future. But as of now, because of the current circumstances, the current scenario we are in, yes, the digital is the only way out. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Babar. So digital is just a supplement, as everybody is saying. It is not the exact replacement. So coming on to my question number 2, which is in today's agenda, is post-COVID, what would be the new formula for organizers to attract exhibitors and visitors for their shows? Being social distancing will be applicable by various government, new norms will be in place. So would like to start this particular question with Dennis. Dennis, your view on the same.
So I will be very short on this question because it's more a question for the organizer, and I am speaking for a venue point of view. But of course, we are studying a lot of measures. We are collaborating with UFI and other associations to see what are the best practices. And to be honest, we are a very creative industry, so I'm sure we will come with a lot of very efficient measure on that point. But I will let the organizer speaking about that.
So thanks, Dennis. Next, moving to John. John, what is your few points, if you can share with us?
Thank you. First of all, I didn't say at the beginning, I hope everybody listening in is well and safe. I also have to make the comment that your industry seems to be very male dominated. I do hope in the future we can attract more ladies into this fascinating industry. And I welcome the ladies in particular. So, and to the question, what can we do? I think to go forward, we have to go back to basics. And I think we have to remind would-be exhibitors and exhibitors who have defected for the COVID reason or any other, and people who've never used exhibitions before. We have to remind them of the 5 or 6 unique benefits which face-to-face meeting offers. And really, we can never tire of educating potential and existing exhibitors. One of these 5 special benefits, which I always try to educate people on, is the point of listening. A lot of people exhibit at exhibitions to show, to talk, and to be proactive. I feel that they're missing the best opportunity to listen to their marketplace. Now, this can happen digitally as well, but there is no better way of learning about what's going on in your industry than listening to your peers, listening to your competitors, listening to specialists who are making keynote presentations and so on. And this market intelligence gathering, nowhere can you do it better than at a live marketing event. I use the term live marketing. That can be conferences, trade shows, exhibitions, road shows, seminars, whatever. But there is no substitute for active listening. And I think this is often overlooked. So if I were an organizer, I would be really promoting this point, that one of the best ways of growing your own business, whatever it is by listening carefully and accurately. And the way to do it and the place to do it is at live marketing events, trade shows. So that's my contribution.
Sure. Thanks, John. Now moving on to Mr. Balwinder Singh Sani from FICCI. So Balwinder ji, what do you think? What would be the new formula?
As others have also said, and I've already shared that in a couple of formats. The new formula will be we will have to be much more exhibitor centric. So we will have to understand their requirements and work on visitor profile, work on, as my friend and colleague Sudeep said, in the hybrid way, in case we are unable to get some visitors from overseas, we will have to, get them through digital model. And Amit also had the same view for the overseas people. So basically, we'll have to understand through our client's perspective and handle the situation. It will be more tailor-made for each client. Suppose we are having an exhibition of 100 to 125 exhibitors. So we will have to do profiling accordingly. And once we know their requirements, we will have to position them in a certain manner. And in case, suppose 25 exhibitors are looking at overseas buyers, we will have to create a digital platform near those 25 exhibitors where they can do interactive sessions with them initially. Once everything is normal, then it will be a normal setup. But initially we will have to do some tailor-made changes. So my the key to the entire thing is client based, client situation, and tailor-made. We'll have to work accordingly. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. So tailor-made solution for every exhibitor sets. Yeah, thank you. Moving on to Mr. Sayed. Sayedji, what is your take on the new formula to get more exhibitors or visitors?
So, yesterday we had a very interesting web seminar, which was actually which had discussed the ways and means to organize the exhibitions post the lockdown opens. And to my surprise, most of the organizers were talking about the next big is small, or you can call it the small is the next big. For example, if the venues today have the capacity of 10,000 square meters, the organizers are only looking at the usage of maximum 50% of the space to exhibit. The aisle is going to be increased. If it was earlier 3 meters wide, it is going to be 4 meters and 4.5 meters. The distance between two booths is going to be minimum 1 meter after another. Earlier we had the cascading or the concurrent booths one after one. And of course, they're looking at much more bigger participation and involvement of the venue as well as the authorities. So going forward, the collaboration and the cooperation will be the new formula. And interestingly, Sudeep ji has already implemented that at IEML, followed by us in Pune. We normally, we are operating the venues in a smaller city, not smaller, but to more precise, the B cities such as Pune and Chandigarh. There we are finding that the organizers are not actually getting adopted to the technology, but they're looking at more reasons to organize the exhibitions post the lockdown opens. So it's more pertinent that the support system to the organizers are provided by the venues and authorities post the opening of the lockdown, and that will create a lot of new venues and revenues for the organizers. Having said that, to conclude, I would say that organizers are no more the epicenter of the exhibitions post the lockdown is over. It's more of the venues and authorities which will play a more important role. And the dependency will increase on these two stakeholders. That's what is my submission.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sayyed. Want to take another bite from Mr. Sarkar. So your valuable suggestions, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Saidji, for making venues more important in India. I'm sure all our colleagues understand and know that well. But my point is, these are measures we are taking, keeping COVID in the forefront. But that's gonna maybe over in another, let's say, 6 months time period. We will be soon back to the business, and the normal would be normal. Yes, there would be some measures taken by health and safety, but predominantly in the earlier budgets that we used to have in the venue, I'm saying from the venue, though we don't have much of a say in that, as Dennis has said, this is most often organizer centric, but in the venue also, in the budget, we have a health and safety line. Now that health and safety line was a mere budget figure and we were not utilizing it much. But now that health and safety budget is increased, and I'm sure that's increased in the organizer's budget also. And that line particularly is gonna define in a major way the marketing approach of those large companies like Informa and REITs and many of the messes and all that, how they are promoting the health and safety in times to come. So one way, of course, to tide over the situation is a health and safety, as everybody is pointing out. But we'll have to also look at the MSME sectors. I am specifically, more concerned about it because in India we have more than 70% of this as MSME. So we have to, look at what are the government initiatives have been done. IIA has been doing pioneering activities in this regard. Is that we'll have to reach out to the government to take out their policies, which were basically for the exhibitors who were going to participate in the foreign-based exhibitions and all. There were a lot of subsidies, incentives, and subscription-based membership organizations that were driving that in. If that can be now made inward, that those were earlier given for the exhibitors and the organizers to take the exhibitors outside in order to promote their business and help in the export. My colleague Babar Khan said that. Now, can we go back to the government and take those initiatives into domestic section, into the inward section, till the time the international scenario does not come back to normal? So these would be the two most effective steps, one from the venue side, one from the organizer sides, to reach out to the government and motivate them to issue schemes for participation in the domestic industry, which is already there by NSIC and MSME, but it has to be boosted. And in one of the earlier webinar done by IEML, one of our key client, PMMI, that did the Plast Focus with us, said that there has to be packages that have to be directly given by the venue to the exhibitors. So if such packages can be made, not only by IEML, but by all the venues, and if we can, have a guideline to that effect through CII and PhD, that would boost the, domestic participation in a major way till the time the normal situation comes back.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar, for highlighting those points as well. Now moving on to Mr. Amit Panjwani from CII. So Amit, what do you think? What would be the new formula for you?
Well, Sachin, if you ask me, honestly, it's a very difficult question. I'll take it in two different ways. If you're asking me about physical exhibition in near future, I don't think I have any strategy. I'm not thinking about it even. Sentiment in market is very low. People are scared and skeptical to come out. So we should not try anything which is exhibition in near future, at least for 6 to 8 months. The way should be well said. However, here where we have digital form of exhibition going to come in. So this is the major role of digital till the time to fill up this gap between the physical and the normal exhibition you're looking at. This digital can fill up the gap. But to attract them, we need to have a very moderate cost. We should not look at profit. We should look at reasonable cost to cost basis kind of thing. We should look at terms of payment from the exhibitor to the organizer, very ease of. This will going to give a very good opportunity to build a rapport with the exhibitor, which you can encash later on once you have a physical form, once the SMEs have money, once the corporates have money, we can do it. This is the time we should connect with the exhibitor, be with them, get them business. If they're going to get business, they're going to give us business. That's what I feel. In addition to that, what I really feel is going to be very difficult is deliverability in virtual exhibition. We need to really underline it. We need to see how we're going to do that. We can also look at getting some subsidy from government through MSME or MES scheme for this digital form, so that we should meet our expenses and exhibitors should not get hit of the money, and they get business for time being till the time we get onto our routine work and get to the normal form of exhibition. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amit. Moving on to Mr. Seth from PhD Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, Sachin,
Over to you, sir.
the question is that formula for organizers to attract visitors and exhibitors. So I would here agree with the sentiment which Balvinder has been saying today also and earlier also, that all these disruptions and everything show us a better way in future. So I take it further from there, that this past one month when everybody has been locked down, so a lot of webinars and activities have been done. So we, being from the chamber point of view, I think Balvinder, Amit and FIEO, Ashish is there, they will agree with me on this part, that a lot of interaction we are doing with the existing members we have. Because a lot of problems they are facing, which they are coming to the chamber to help them, and we are making a lot of representations to the government. So the point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of interaction is happening with them. So we are developing a proper networking and PR with them. And simultaneously, we are also adding on a lot of new people who were not member of the chambers or smaller associations. They are also getting roped into this. So your database is getting increased. And the confidence level of those people along with all the industry association and chamber is also developing. So that is helping us to make a good network with them. The confidence level is increasing, which will definitely come in handy when we do the physical exhibitions later on, that we can give them those kind of platforms. Yes, I totally agree with Amit, which he has been saying since we started this session, that physical exhibitions will take time. Yes, for sure it will take time. We cannot plan our strategies for that. But yes, we have to do our homeworks properly. We have to develop definitely the strategies that how we are going to face it when we open it, actually maybe in December or March or April, whenever we open it that way. So what I feel that we have a lot of, all the chambers have the MOU partners in different countries. So interaction with them, like we have been doing, FICCI is doing, I know CI is doing, tomorrow Ashish is doing along with Japan, today we had done with Japan. So a lot of interactions are happening. So that connectivity is already started making what is the potential available in those countries for Indian companies. Or like the discussions, and everybody is aware that a lot of countries are also thinking of shifting their base from China to different countries. Though it sounds very good in India, but we have our all issues to bring all those things here. So this might sound a bit different from the exhibition point of view, but ultimately if the industries are coming to India and industries are getting business out of India, so that will help in developing the exhibitions also. So the point I am trying to make here is that we have to interact with the industry in this tough times, do digital platforms, and we are developing our database that way. And as Balvinder rightly mentioned, that we have to be very specific in delivering to the exhibitions, that what exactly is the exhibitor looking for, what kind of visitor are they looking for. So by this database, we can do good matchmakings, which can for sure be done through digitally. And these next 6-8 months will definitely help us in developing that. And then in coming future, when we do physical exhibitions, we can have more this kind of information available with us, which will come in handy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seth. Very valuable input shared. Moving on to Mr. Ashish Jain. Ashish ji, a quick bite from you. If you have feel like something is left, over to you.
To add what my other colleagues have said, I like to go with what Naveen ji has said. See, exhibition industry, what would be the strategy, as nobody can foresee now and foretell now. We need to first come back to the normal situation. From my perspective, what I feel is that, to attract both the buyers as well as the visitor, you need to have a strong content in terms of the exhibition. We need to showcase, we need to give to the buyers. See, there are always two kind of people who are always ready to take risk. They may go for the exhibition once the physical form of exhibitions goes fully functional. But the only thing which I would like to add on that, to have people will go for more of the selective kind of an exhibition, I would call it. They may be evolution, they may be upgradation of, I would say, the exhibition industry will move to the next level. You cannot expect any of the exhibition wherein you will have the buyers as well as the suppliers. So you need to have a very selective and with good content, wherein by the content I mean that you need to have done good marketing in terms of inviting the buyers, and probably some kind of an assurance in terms of the business would further encourage more people to join the exhibition once the physical form gets normal. Yes, a connection, getting connected to the people right now is a very important thing, because we must not lose the touch of the people whom we are going to contact them once the physical form gets functional. And this is the time where we need to be more do more interaction with our buyers as well as more interaction with our suppliers. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Jain. So rightly said, time to keep in touch with your customers. Taking last bite on the same question from Mr. Babar. Babar, over to you.
Thank you, Sachin. So, according to me, customer preference will definitely change. Health and hygiene will take over the other priorities. Now, the exhibition have to focus on the quality visitors rather than the quantity visitors. We cannot imagine a situation like what we had in past, that there are 40,000, 50,000 visitors for an exhibition. So now the quality of visitors is very important. Quantity need to be cut. There need to be certain measures which need to be implemented to make anybody enter the exhibition, like the temperature, body temperature should be captured at the entrance. Touch-free frisking using the metal detectors and all. As Mr. Sayed also said, that wider aisles, that is the need of the hour. Apart from this, mask, of course, will have an added advantage. So these are, I think, some must, which is to be kept in mind while to have safety with in respect to the visitors and exhibitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba. Thanks for your inputs. Moving on to the next question, which is basically for the venue owners here. That is the show which are being postponed to 2021. As we see, most of the shows are postponed to next year. So how would venues handle the same? So I would like to take first bite from Dennis. Dennis, I have to leave for another meeting. So Dennis, along with this question, I would like to raise the Brussels Expo was in news two days back, that Brussels is going to be the first COVID-free place for the exhibition. So if you can touch base on those points, as well as there's a question on that aspect from our participants. So over to you for this.
Okay, I will explain what we did, because we are the first venue in the world to take these measures. So it's quite interesting if I just explain how it came. So we are linked to the city of Brussels, okay, as a venue. It's a city-owned venue, and so it's totally privately managed, but it's city-owned venue. And so we have a direct link with the hospitals in Belgium, and the healthcare system in Belgium is very efficient, very well known. It's mainly managed, I don't know how it is in India, but the healthcare system in Belgium is mainly the public health system. It's linked to the universities and is the best one. The private hospitals are not as good as the public one. And so we contact the public hospitals about the technology of UVC and other technologies to see if it was useful in the fight against COVID and actually against other viruses. And it seemed that the technology was very efficient according to the specialists we discussed with in the hospitals fighting against COVID. And so we took further investigation about these technologies. And what we found is that UVC is used in the medical sector for a long time, more than 100 years, to disinfect the air and the rooms and the hospitals, the ambulance, a lot of stuff like this. And what we found also, more surprisingly, it was also used in the private sector, for example, in the banking sector, to reduce the illness of the employees and to increase the productivity of them. Because by installing that kind of technology in offices, it was possible to reduce illness. So it was very interesting for us. And then we look at different suppliers, and we found one and two that were more efficient than the others because they had good references. One of them actually that we choose installed the same technology in the Wuhan COVID hospitals. So that was very interesting also. And why was it so interesting? Because UV, everybody is scared about, and everybody will remember what Donald Trump said about UV. UV, he was right. UV is efficient in the fights against the viruses and against COVID, but he was wrong in the way he wanted to use it. Because you have it's very dangerous for the skin and for the eyes. So you cannot use UV lights if you just put a light and people under it. The technology that we install in Brussels Expo, that we will install, we just ordered it. It's UV, but installed inside cylinders. So you don't have the lights shining on the people. So this technology, you can use it in infrastructures, indoor infrastructures with people, with visitors. And it's really efficient to kill bacteria and germs. Basically, it's the same technology they use in big waste center to fight against odors and bad smell, which is exactly the same. It's killing, the germs and the bacteria to the others, to fight against the others. And so basically it's a well-known technology in other sectors that is totally applicable in our industry. And so we took the bet to be the first to install that, because even if we don't have to be totally transparent, we don't have any medical studies specific in indoors like exhibition halls, if it's useful and so on. But what we have is that we know that it's used in other sector with a very good efficiency rate of 99.9% of killing the germs and the viruses. We know that the Chinese use it in the fights against COVID. We know that now in Italy, in the ambulance in Italy, they use the same. We use it in the hospitals in Brussels to fight against COVID. I'm sure they use it in hospitals in other countries around the world. And so the installation is a combination of these UV lights. But then with the lights, you have the problem that, if you have shadow in one corner of your venue, it won't work there. So it's a combination of lights and other technology like ozone and like you have when you have a thunderstorm. I don't know if you noticed already that when you have a thunderstorm, the air just before the thunder, it's cleaner. You have like fresh air. And it's exactly the same process that we used in this technology, that ozone is cleaning also the air if you use it at the right rate. So that's basically a combination of the technology we used. We are pretty sure it's totally efficient. It's not the only solution as a venue, because we will combine that with a lot of other measures. But this technology will help us to disinfect the air and also the surfaces, and so the booths and so on. So we are really convinced at Brussels Expo that as a venue, the next biggest criteria after COVID and now is the healthcare and the health and the sanitary criteria. It's not Wi-Fi anymore. It's not HVAC anymore. So that's why we wanted to be, on top of that, to ensure that we could be on top, and that the organizer, the exhibitors, and the visitor will be confident to come back to Brussels Expo. What I can tell you on the commercial point of view is that normally, in Belgium, all the big events, mass events, are forbidden till 1st of September. But we had a lot of events in the last quarter in September and October, and they all canceled because, you know, it's normally we will open in 1st of September, but nobody knows if it will be possible. And so a lot are canceling right now, even in September and October. So before we just, because we announced that, and because we will be ready with that technology as of the 1st of September, for example, we had a huge EU events in October with more than 15,000 attendees. And they were on the point to cancel the show, to cancel the events, the Congress. And now they maintain it because of the technology. Of course, they will do a hybrid model with not 15,000, but 3,000, and the other part will be digital, like we discussed before. But that was a really good sign. Another one is that we have a big car show in January, and they were very, very upset because normally end of March all the exhibitors have booked their booth, but at this time they hadn't sold one single square meters. So because we communicate on this technology and we send the reports of the scientists. And I encourage you to search also on Google. If you go to Columbia University, you will see they've made a research there, and they say that UVC will be the next game changer in all the indoor spaces because it's disinfecting the air. And because of that, the car show organizer just starting to do business again. And I have a couple of other examples of the UK organizer wanted to organize an event in Milano next year, and just now studying the fact to come to Brussels because of the COVID and this technology installed. So it's really important that we bring back confidence with a very good technology to fight that. So that's basically what we did in 5 minutes. I am available to discuss with the venue guys from India about this technology. I'm now in contact with a lot of venues around the world to explain and to give information. And my approach is to be totally transparent, because we all need to be, the whole industry, we need to show solidarity in this time. That's one of the things we all learn about this crisis is solidarity. And so we give all the information so that everybody can analyze that. But I'm sure, and with the contact we have in Brussels and the scientists in Belgium, you have to know that in Belgium it's a buzz, and also in John, I am in contact now with the NEC in Birmingham, Excel in London, to explain this with the German messe, with France, with a lot even with the casino in Las Vegas called me to understand the technology we use now in Brussels. So I'm totally transparent, and if you need more information about that, and my approach is that as many people analyze this, and in Belgium, all the journalists are asking me questions about this, and now they are asking a lot of doctors and specialists to see if the technology is useful. And all the feedbacks is, yes, it is useful, but it's the first time that we use it in such a big venue. Actually, it's true in our industry, but the same technology is installed in a lot of airports without that people knows, and other venues. So that's my experience of what a venue can do to reinstall, confidence in the industry. And I'm pretty sure that all venues will follow these type of measures. And the last thing I want to repeat is that it's not the only one solution. You have to combine this with a lot of other measures that we all know now, about wearing masks and so on and so on. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Dennis. A lot of information, new information, I would say, for most of us. And in case you have to log out, so I would convey my thanks on behalf of industry and on behalf of our organization as well for taking out time and joining us today. And thank you so much.
So if you need more info, contact me via Sachin, and I will answer that. Okay.
Sure. We can take questions from everyone and maybe direct it to you directly. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. So moving on with the same question now to Mr. Sayed. As a venue owner, you see a lot of fairs have been, shifted to next year. So what do you think? How to tackle such cases? Is that an opportunity or there would be a demand supply equation? Over to you, sir.
First of all, many thanks for bringing in, Brazil's, because that was really needed. And the kind of technology they have introduced is just spreading out to India, and people are, asking about it, and they want to know more about it. To add to what he has already mentioned and the venues already implemented, at Messi Global venues, we are using the thermal scanning, which is just implemented and done by EXHICON's own division. The next big thing, which is important, is of course once the lockdown opens, is geofencing and GPS tracking, which will again play a very, very important role in terms of tracking the visitors and exhibitors. UV sea purifiers, as Brazil's Expo has just implemented, is another important tool. So I feel that there are a lot of technological development that are actually, taking shape, and these will play a very important role in future for securing the venues from all kind of issues. Let it be the health scars, let it be the social distancing or registrations. So yeah, geofencing is one area we can look at. The thermal scanning is another. UVC purifiers at the Brussels Expo. Digital signage will also play a very important role. And look at the plexiglass, which is widely used by most of the shopping malls across the world now, which actually creates a sort of barricade between a visitor and a exhibitor or a person at the registration counter. This could not be used fully for face-to-face exhibition area, but maybe in an area like delegation lounges or organizers lounge or media lounge or F&B area for that matter. So plexiglass is another big solution that is coming up well. Engagement and community apps, which are also important. A lot of event app will be in play post the lockdown opens, and these kind of use of technology will definitely bring in more visitors to the venue and more exhibition organizers to the venue. But as I mentioned earlier, that is all about how we are going to actually start with accepting the kind of responses that we are receiving from the organizers. And I'm sure that Sudeepji, after taking over from here, will give more valuable inputs, being the larger venue. But as far as I have experienced, one is that we are not having many of the shows not at all opening at the venue, but rather they are shifting to October, November, and January until February next year. So I would not say that it's completely washed off. The organizers are still looking at even this year to begin with, but it all depends how the authorities are going to open the country and how are we going to accept the challenges of the visitors and exhibitors and organizers management. So as far as venues are concerned, I'm looking at the safety to be the first measure which everybody has to look at, and we have already started implementing that. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Syed. Moving on to Mr. Sarkar for his valuable inputs. Over to you, Sudeepji.
So I understood it in a different perspective. I thought, how the venues are gonna cope up with the demand and supply situation, which that Saiji touched upon towards his last 3-4 lines. If we are talking about the hygiene and all other, yes, the venue is well prepared, and our chairman, sir, Shri Rakesh Kumarji, had informed in the last webinar that standards and codes are being worked out, and a committee has been constituted to that effect. And it is not only about COVID, but it is about all living pathogens. We are formulating a end-to-end formulation so that it is a certified global standard, and that can be implemented not only at IEML but also at all other venues across the world. But if we look at the demand and supply situation, of course, the March, April, May, June, July is totally gone from the calendar, and a lot of events should now reschedule their dates in September, October, November, December, and the last quarter of this financial year, India being April to March. The good point with IEML is, yes, it has multiple entry exits and multiple halls. So yes, we are able to take care of the demand and the supply situation as of now. I'm sure that is being done by all other venues. But the important thing that what IEML has done in the industry, is that we have been able to take measures of extending the same financial proposals to the events that have shifted from the lean period to the maximum period. A. B, we are not charging for any cancellation or surrendering of space or like that, and we are also welcoming that if the payment terms can be more humanized, because this 4 or 5 months of the sales have gone by. So that is also we have worked in association with each of the clients that we have, which we have been doing for the last 13 years of the business. But yes, the demand would be more in the last quarter of the financial year, and what I see is a probability, as has been echoed by some other knowledgeable colleagues of mine in the industry, is that maybe there would be a situation to, or maybe there is a need of the situation to co-locate, collaborate, and consolidate. So what I see and what I've heard and what I understand from different conversation with my industry colleagues is that some have even echoed to the sentiment that if these shows are 10 to 15% overlap in their product lines, exhibitor lines or the visitor lines, they may, for the sake of continuing in the business, may co-locate, collaborate, and consolidate. And this would help, to cut down the cost of the venue. A, if the venue cost is cut down, automatically it passes on to the organizer. B, and if the organizer costs are cut down, they will give more subsidies to the exhibitors. That is C. And if the overall cost comes down, the visitor would definitely see an opportunity that at one go he can see tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 section of a particular exhibition. So that would be, if we have to, when we are saying the digital is not pure digital but would be hybrid, digital for the timing, then hybrid, and then physical. In the physical, we need to put this mantra now in the industry that you need to collaborate, co-locate, and consolidate. And if you have similar shows, you can put in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 section, and the visitors would get a lot of confidence that their cost of traveling, time, and the safety standards of the venues can all be taken together, and the overall cost of the participation or for that particular event, be it venue, be it organizer, be it exhibitor, or be it visitor, would combinedly come down. That would give a very positive signal to the visitor and the exhibitors to come in quickly and still participate and go through this situation quickly.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar.
Yeah.
Very valuable input shared. So, considering the time also, we have already shooted. The next question, which remains unanswered, is exhibition role in the revival of economy. It is considered as a springboard for the revival of economy. So, what do you think? Post situation, is that be a silver lining for the exhibition sector? So, starting with Mr. Balwinder Singh Sani first. So, I can request everyone to take just 1 minute for their inputs on the same. Over to you, Mr. Sani.
I've already shared very positive thoughts and note. It is just a couple of months, and I'm telling you, by Diwali, things would be different, and physical format, as in a hybrid way or whatever way, will be back. So please create positivity in and around your professional world and your personal world, and just try to innovate, create, think about value creation to both exhibitors and visitors, and think out of the box, come out with new ideas, connect with youth, just do some competitions with youth. They will give you the ideas. When we get logged and blocked, it is best to go to the youth. I would suggest to a lot of organizers, webinar guys, to do something with graduate kids, post-graduation kids. Just reach out to the youth. People between 16 to 26, they will be the game changer. So just organize, so that this message is to you, Syed Bhai, just organize a competition, with youth, and see the ideas which will come in the front. They will really, bring a lot of new ideas to us. So that is my thought of the day. Connect with youth, bring more new ideas and innovative thoughts.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Mr. Sani.
Thanks.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Connecting with the youth. I like this word.
Yes.
So, in case I think Mr. Sani has to move for another meeting, so let me thank you on everyone's behalf, sir, for joining us. Moving on to Mr. John Blasky. John,
Okay,
over to you.
I just wanted to add something to the discussion on venues very quickly. I suppose everybody in this forum knows what's happening in the UK, where venues are becoming hospitals. Now, I know this is short term, but XL, NEC, the Manchester Evening News in Manchester, and the Scottish Exhibition Centre in Glasgow, the SECC, are all becoming supplementary hospitals. This is generating revenue and very good publicity for the venues. So I just wanted to add that. As to reigniting the economy, I agree also about addressing the youth. The young ideas are the ideas of tomorrow. Generation COVID will contribute much. And in the way, when we look in the past, how terrorism created new habits at airports, COVID will create new hybrids and new behaviors in the live marketing field. I also believe in the strength of trade and professional associations. This is when we need to communicate with our trade and professional associations. And whether we do it digitally at the moment to rebirth the live marketing industry in a year or 18 months' time, or whether we actually get physically together when we can. Our trade associations and our professions, our professional bodies are key to this revival. This is where we can generate some real fuel for the new normal. That's my contribution. Hope it helps.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, John, for these words. Moving on to next, Mr. Sayed. What is your take, sir? Is that a silver lining for our exhibition sector going forward?
You know, whenever I hear Mr. Balwinder Singh Sani in each one of the session that I attend or I'm part of as a panelist or a speaker or moderator, it gives us some new hopes, you know, and I really thank to him for such wonderful words for the country and the fraternity at large. I am simply believing that things are not what we are seeing from the, you know, mirror effect. What we are seeing is something very different from really something happening or going to happen. So I'm very positive, very optimistic, and I can really assure that the industry is going to bounce back very soon. If you are expecting October or November, I would even expect before that, if the government is a little more open to the ideas of getting people outside their homes, then it will come back within these 3 to 4 months is what I can say, and we all have to be hopeful about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sayed. Moving on to Mr. Sarkar.
Here, I would bring in 2 more aspects of, like I'm on the executive body of India Convention Promotion Bureau, which is a premier body for, you know, promoting conferences, and also on the Indian Exhibition Industries Association. So both the bodies are doing excellent work in you know, collaboration with a lot of magazines like yours who have taken such kind of initiatives in order to reach out to the government through the association and different bodies like CII, FICCI, the much larger, and the PhD chambers and the FIEO and the bodies. My colleagues are here. So from IIA, I can, you know, tell you that we have analyzed the entire industry as 239,000 crore with 120,000 people working in it. And the entire association has made a representation to the government that, you know, approximately, approximately 3250 crore of space rental and 20,650 crore of other services have got affected, which has affected the livelihood of 120,000 people directly. So of course there is a major need for you know, getting the industry back to the business, and the most important part is because the exhibition plays a multiplier role as a catalyst, and we have analyzed from IIA that it is 1:12. 1 rupee put into the exhibition brings 12 rupees of economic output in India, as per the study by the IIA, where we all are, most of us are members over there. So similarly, ICBB also has done multiple representations through faith and through other bodies to the Ministry of Tourism and all. So what, and FIEO, FICCI, CII, and PhD chambers are also doing much larger perspectives, because I'm talking about only one association. They are talking about maybe hundreds of associations under their umbrella. So all of us have gone. All of us made a representation. All of us have some points and all that. What Said says is very important. Is that quickly we have to come back to the normal situation, and we have to start the business ourselves. We can't keep on waiting for others to start. We have to start the business ourselves. And to start it, we have gone virtual to be the initial part of it, so that as long as the physical assembly is not allowed. So that is what is the role of the industry bodies of IIA and ICBB is doing to bring the business back to normal at the earliest, in association with CII, FICCI, and PhD and FIEO.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar, for this information.
And thank you also to the various magazines like yours, who are playing a very important role in talking to such associations and the larger industry bodies to highlight these points and making representations to the government time and again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now moving on to Mr. Panjwani from CI. So what is your take, sir?
I want to confess before I answer this question that I was a bit pessimistic about the whole thing before the session. But my friend Balwinder, after such an optimistic approach, and the way Mr. Syed and my friend Sudeep has actually have believe in him. So as Naveen and Ashish, they believe in belief. So eventually I'm also believing them. And moreover, such a good suggestion from Mr. John make me believe that, okay, I was thinking that probably going to go a bit long, but the way people are thinking, it can go fast. So let's be optimistic. We can and we will. As a country, as a sector, we can do well. However, coming back to question, I have a different view again, which I again want to put. I was reading the other day that we are growing at we were growing at a speed of 2 GDP. Now probably revival is going to be by global investor service slash to 0.2%. This 2.5% will probably 0.25% will reach to 2.5 by March, I feel, and eventually reach to 6.2 by the end of next year. Being an exhibition industry, yes, we do contribute in the economy just like others. And moreover, service sector contribute the maximum GDP. We will also contribute the same. However, the key will be the sector which we're going to choose. If in case we want to come fast and have a bounce back, then I feel sector. Sorry. Hello. Then I feel sector will be the main key. I understand health and consumer goods. Consumer goods will be the key point. So as the white goods. And going forward, we can look at engineering goods. Initially, we should shortlist the sectors where we should target, and then looking at doing exhibition on those sectors because that will be the high demand in near future. We usually produce a good amount of foreign currency for the government also. So in a way, we are a part of a GDP too, and we contribute that like other sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Moving on to Mr. Seth.
Yeah, Sachin, I would take the point from this where Sudeep was mentioning that a lot of collaboration and co-location has to be done, because 2 quarters of this year, financial year, I'm talking of India, we will not be seeing much of the action. Next quarters, definitely when we see, so a lot of collaboration has to be done. There are a lot of event organizers, small, which we have been talking earlier. Syed Bhai will agree with me that we have been talking earlier that smaller 2-tier, 3-tier cities where we have small organizers, if we can merge these shows with the bigger organizers or with the chambers, like Balwinder also mentioned earlier, I also mentioned that FICCI and PhD would like to help them in that way. We can merge those shows and have proper shows where we can have good number of exhibitors so that we can have international visitors into that, maybe virtually for initial couple of months, and then maybe later on we can have those visitors again physically also coming into this. So that way we can help a lot in economy also, as Amit rightly pointed out that we have been contributing a lot in foreign currency as well. Domestically also, as figures have been mentioned, I don't want to mention those figures again. So a lot of things can be done. But yes, collaboration and co-location of things has to be done between the organizers and venue owners. For sure, from the government, if we can get a lot of things like MSME, as Sayed Bhai also mentioned earlier, a lot of things are happening with MSME also. They have also domestic shows the support. They want to increase that fund. And a lot of RBSMs also this year, they have sent the letters to all the councils and chambers. I think Ashish can speak on that. So we are working closely with them on those things. So support from government will also come into this. But at the same time, we private organizers, the chambers and the venue people have to work together and work out certain formulas, which I think we are already discussing, Sayed Bhai, in the different platforms that how we can work it together. So some formula can definitely work out. And as this industry is very close-knit industry, so everybody knows each other. For years, we know each other. We have been working together at certain places or here and there. We know each other. So a lot of common things are there. So now this is the time to show our strength together and come out as a winner out of this. Thank you.
There's a big disruption in the supply chain.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Seth. Now moving on to Mr. Ashish Jain for his comments. Over.
Yeah, Sachin, I'll just like to add on exhibition industry, as we all know, is an important, plays a very important role in the economic development, as it is the platform through which, business generation happens. It is not only for businesses, for the people who comes together, it is the business for all the stakeholders. It generates lots of employment for the people who are involved in the exhibition industry. So yes, exhibition industry has a very vital role in the economic development as well as GDP of any country, and it is going to come back to normal. It's only just a temporary phase that everyone is facing, and I am hopeful that through concentrated efforts of all the people like you, like the industry leaders, like the organizer, we will be able to cope up with the situation and come back bounce back, with better, in fact, the better organizations of those events. Through this platform, Sachin, I would also like to make a kind of an appeal to all the organizers of the show that since everybody is talking about the fact that it will take another 6 months or 9 months time to come back to have a physical form of the exhibition, I would request the organizer, if they, as I've talked in the beginning, there has to be a connect between the people, between all the stakeholders. Let all the organizers come out with some kind of a proposal through which, maybe through the virtual system or through the web system, they should come out with a system through which they can connect to the people whom they were expecting initially in the physical form. That will give more motivation, as well as it will also help in bringing back the people back when the physical form of the exhibitions happens. Through this forum, I would also like to say this thing. With these words, I would like to thank you for organizing this session, and I'm also thankful to all the speakers for the wonderful insights and the thoughts. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Jain. Taking last comment from Babar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sachin. I'm a bit optimistic about the growth. See, the reason is, first 2 quarters of this financial year is already gone. So what we are expecting is some action in Q3 or Q4. So now I'll take it by an English calendar. See, the Modi has downgraded India's growth to 0.2% for this calendar year. For the next calendar year, the growth will rebound to 6.2 as per them. As our finance minister has also said that among the G20 nations, we will be having a highest growth rate still in the current scenario. As we have seen in the previous pandemic, like in the Spanish flu, recovery path was a V-shape. V-shape, yes, the shock persists, but the growth rebounds very soon. So what I believe is the growth will rebound very soon. And in particular, the exhibition industry has an important role to play with. The exhibition known to be important. The exhibition industry is known to be the important driver of the economy, as it can contribute to the trade, investment, innovation, and job creation. when I talk about job creation, it has got a multiplier effect. Multiplier effect is it supports the transportation, the hotel, the retail, the restaurants, facilitating the small business growth by connecting to buyers and sellers. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Babar. So before oh sure, Mr. Sayed has to say something. Yeah.
Yes, just one more point, besides all the numbers and data and studies, what we have is more of positivity that creates the entire ecosystem into a, more vibrant play. So look at the hospitals now, completely empty. You don't have people queuing up there in OPDs, or there are hardly any people, who are admitted there. Look at the shopping malls, you don't find many people there. So it's a course correction also of nature that you see now, and it's not always connected only with the economy of the country specific, or the world specific in that manner. So I would urge that let's create a positivity around us, as Balwant earlier said, and let's create that positivity transform into creation of bouncing back ourselves. This is what is my final take on this. Thank you very much, Sachinji, and every and one more example. Look at Amit. When we were discussing earlier, he was the only one making sort of not very good remarks and not very positive remark. But when you started talking about how things will really shape up in terms of positivity, he changed completely to this side. So that's the effect of the positivity that can transform into the business and the good atmosphere all around us. So thank you very much, everybody, especially the panelists and the participants. And I can see a lot of good remarks from the people in the chat box. Over to you, Mr. Sachin.
Thank you, Mr. Sayed. So from the positivity, I'm gonna invite now unannounced panelists, which was not in the flyer. Just allow me 2 to 3 minutes. So inviting Miss Neera Nath. Neera is there. So Neera, I can't, define your designation and the profile. So over to you for this. I'm sorry.
Talk very long. Hello, everybody. I just want to say I feel very, very happy to have been part of this entire webinar. And I've learned a lot of amazing things from our overseas participants, and there's so many august people on the panel. I'm in the design field. I've been in it for 40 years. I trained in Paris in fashion and couture, and then I've been an entrepreneur, had my own export company. I manufacture a lot. I did home and fashion accessories, textiles, garments. I've also been involved with NIFT and with Tribes and Trifid recently, and also worked a little bit on weddings and events and luxury, and as well as also done like a wine fest, which we did at the Taj Palace, and always on the creative. So my forte is design, and it encapsulates everything: fashion, textiles, home, spaces, and so on and so forth. I just want to make one or two interesting points which I wanted to bring to your notice. I go a lot to exhibitions, including art fairs and design fairs and fashion fairs, and the fashion, when you have the Lux Fashion Weeks, etc., etc. All the, whatever we are all going through, this entire sort of pandemic and this horror that's been thrust upon us, but however, we have to accept, because it's a will much stronger than ours, and we have to live with it. We cannot go against it. And I think it's also giving us certain ideas, guidelines, signals to perhaps change a little bit. One or two things that I've noticed in all the exhibitions systematically, and also the fashion shows we used to go to, they spend so much money to make these enormous hangars and huge structures, whether it's in an exhibition ground or elsewhere. And it's very often there's absolutely no circulation of fresh air. It's zero. So in fact, if you go for the whole day, by the time you come back in the afternoon, you're all exhausted. We need to look at how we can make it more nature-centric, more organic, more natural. Perhaps with little lesser money use, it might be a better, like a double-edged sort of a sword that works good for us in the long run, and bring in more circulation of fresh air, also using materials, perhaps including the carpeting. Carpeting is so synthetic that it like generates electricity, and we've always noticed this. Perhaps we can go back to using a little more organic materials that are going to be easier to handle, easier on the participants, that breathe well. Perhaps this is a time for us to take nature into stock and take our surroundings into stock and create new environments and new space, which I would love to do, that are still very chic, very practical, very commercial, totally usable, if I may say so, and that are easier on us. The other thing I feel is also that we may have to also go like we do for anti-mosquitoes or mosquito repellents. We're also talking about garments, textiles, and accessories, to use materials that are less harmful for our bodies. I know right now we have to use disinfectants and we're using them all over. There's hydrogen peroxide, UV that we were talking about. There's so many disinfectant modes, materials, as well as techniques. But I think we should look at using natural or holistic or non-damaging sort of disinfectants for these spaces that will help everyone. Obviously, we'll have to stagger the people so that we don't cluster up in so many huge amounts, which also I think would make it easier for people to see an exhibition. Of course, it's not practical always because you can't tell people not to come to an exhibition. So perhaps it's just it's a time to think and to restructure and to look inwards as well as to create new ideologies and new design directories. And the other thing I was coming to, which is again organic, like recently I did some project for Tribes India, which has got 70 stores pan India. They have a bungalow on Mahadev Road next to Ashoka Road. Now it was a huge, beautiful space with 2 lawns and a whole bungalow in the middle, and as well as spaces in the back, lying totally unused. So I rechristened it Tribes Garden, Store and Cafe, and we actually brought in everything all around, which was lying unused and totally was being used as dumping grounds and other things. We used up the front lawns, we opened out all the windows, actually beautifying the place, bringing in daylight, bringing the garden inside, outside, and reworking the displays almost with minimal cost, adding in some color on the walls, and using up all the back spaces, which I think are going to be used for performers, tribals, rural people, crafts people that come in. So it's just about imagination. We have imagination and we'd like to work with people like all of you people, where I think we need to just relook at exhibitions, spaces, space design, air conditioning, disinfectants, aesthetics, everything in perhaps a new way. And I'd be very happy to see something new emerge from this. Thank you, Sachin, and thank you all of you. I really enjoyed this interaction.
Thanks, Neera. Thanks for your suggestions. And with this, I think it's more than 1.5 hours, and I would announce the closure of this session. And we'll try to make a report, and we have got all the email IDs and try to email to everyone with the key takeaways. And on behalf of everyone, let me thank everyone, all the panelists, starting from John Blasky, Mr. Sayed, Babar, Naveen Seth, Ashish Jain, Balvinder ji, Dennis, I think, is left already. So thank you for taking out time and joining us for this session, and to all participants as well. And look forward to see you somewhere on this session very soon. Till then, take care.